What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Talking Pigskin AFC and NFC South Preview Edition. As always, I'm your host, Kishwar, and let's dive right into it, starting with the Houston Texans in the AFC South. Now, usually when you think of the Texans, you think of J.J. Watt, you think of Jadeveon Clowney, but lately, ever since Deshaun Watson came on the scene, you're thinking about the Houston offense a lot more. Sure, he has DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to have Will Fuller back, hopefully healthy all year round this year. He's gonna have Duke Johnson, who they just traded from Cleveland. So they're gonna have a potent offense. The problem with this team is they don't have a line to protect him. Sure, they stole Matt Khalil from Carolina this offseason, as well as they drafted Titus Howard from Alabama State in the draft this year to shore up that line. But Watson was the most sacked quarterback last season. If that continues, I don't think Houston is gonna have a good year. But if the protection is there, this Texans team is actually pretty good. Even though on defense side of the ball, they lost to Sean Gibson. Sorry, they added to Sean Gibson. They added Bradley Roby. And they lost their corners, Kevin Johnson and Kareem Jackson. Of course, the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu as well. Overall, I think as long as J.J. Watt is still playing in that defense, Jadeveon Clowney, I know he's holding up. I'm not sure what's happening with his contract. I don't think he signed his tender yet. But the Texans, with the good line, can be good, but I don't see that happening. I'm going to predict them to finish 8-8 this year. Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts, we have a team that can only go as far as Andrew Luck's arm. Now, this guy is very injury prone. I hate to say it. Granted, a couple of years ago, he finally got an offensive line to protect him, but before that, he was the most beat-up quarterback in all of NFL. But now that's not an issue. All of a sudden, every season, there's a new issue with him. I hope this guy can be healthy. He's not on track to play week 1 as of right now. I hope that's not the case. We would love to see Andrew Luck play. But if he doesn't play, this Colts team is not going anywhere. There's a huge gap between Andrew Luck to Jacoby Brissett. Let's face it. There's no comparison there. They did add wide receiver Devin Funchess. They added Justin Houston on the defensive side. They also added Spencer Ware, the running back. And they lost Dontrell Inman and Ryan Grant from the receiving corps. They did draft Rock Yassin in the second round of the draft in the corner slot. They're going to have a pretty good defense, especially with Darius Leonard there. But until Andrew Luck is fully healthy and ready to go, this team doesn't have a lot going for them. So I'm going to predict a 9-7 with a huge asterisk that Andrew Luck will play at least 3/4 of the season. Moving on to Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this team signed Nick Foles this offseason, thought they won the Super Bowl. Pump the brakes, Jaguars fans. You lost Bortles, which is probably the best thing you could have asked for. Anything above him is an upgrade. So yes, in that case, Foles will be very good for you. But who is he working with? Outside of Leonard Fournette, there is no one on that offensive staff in Jacksonville. You're going to tell me Dede Westbrook and Marquise Lee are going to be starting wide receivers? Please, there's no place for that. You know, this is the NFL, not college football. They're not going to do much on this. Especially on the defense side, they're going to talk a lot. You know Jalen Ramsey. This is probably his last year as a Jaguar. I don't think he comes back next year, especially with his contract up. I think this guy is going to probably have a very good year, but his team won't be able to back up all the talk that he's going to do. Look at their team right now. They lost Telvin Smith. They lost, like we said, Blake Bortles. They lost TJ Yeldon to the Bills. They drafted Josh Allen, the edge rusher from Kentucky, so which should help them. But Calais Campbell is still there, and Jalen Ramsey, like we spoke about. The Jaguars' defense will be decent. Not as fierce as they were the last couple of years, but that offense, I have no hope in. Foles. Fournette dropped off, and the receiving core, please. That's not NFL caliber. I'm predicting them to finish 7-9. And the last team we have is the Tennessee Titans in this division. Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, is gone. Not sure who replaced him, but they did add Adam Humphries. They added Roger Saffold in the guard position from the Rams, and they added Ryan Tannehill because, let's face it, Mariota is bound to get hurt some point of the season. They also added linebacker Cameron Wake, who was a amazing pass rusher for the Dolphins for several years, but he's moving on to play with Mike Vrabel, which should be a great fit for them. Titans defense will always be good, especially Kevin Byard is still there. As long as he's playing in that secondary, they'll have a good defense. As well as on the defensive side, they lost Arakpo, which is not a good thing. Also Derek Morgan, but they did draft a defensive tackle. Can't think of his name right now, but he will be a good shoe and fit for them. But just like the Colts are relying on Andrew Luck, the Titans have to worry about is Marcus Mariota finally going to take a next step. If not, this team is not going anywhere. This could be the final year he's with the Titans. But if he does do well, especially with that defense, I think the Titans can finish 8-8 at best. So that's the AFC South. Now let's move on to NFC South, and I'll start with the Birds, Atlanta Falcons. Yes, if you've been following my videos over the last couple of years, you know I'm very high on this team. How can you not be when you have Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and now Calvin Ridley? This is probably the best wide receiving core in all of NFL. Matt Ryan is a proven quarterback. Sure, he blew that lead a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl, but we got to move past that. This guy has to step up and has to take the Falcons back to Super Bowl. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but that's the hope that I have from this team. They got rid of Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator. They brought in Dirk Cutter, who was the head coach of the Bucs last season. They added James Carpenter and Jamon Ron, 2 guards. Solid guards. They need help in that O-line. They did lose Tevin Coleman, so Devonta Freeman will have Smith backing him up this year. They did lose Brooks Street and Brian Pillon on the defense side of the ball. But I'm sure the amount of points they're going to put on board, they'll be able to cover that. That wide receiving core has to show up for them. Devonta Freeman, Matt Ryan, this is a high-flying offense. Like every year, they're going to go 10-6, minimum. Moving on to Carolina Panthers, where Gerald McCoy from Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be joining the defensive line, which is great news for them because you get to stay in division, you get to see your old team twice a year. You're going to take that any day. They also added Matt Paradis in the offensive line. They do lose both Khalil brothers, Ryan and Matt Khalil. Again, this team, Cam Newton has to deliver again. 2015 was his best year. Before that, he also won league MVP. But he needs to realize that he is the face of the franchise and he has to take care of the football and make sure Christian McCaffrey is fed the ball well. Make sure Greg Olsen is getting the ball. Stop taking unnecessary shots when you don't need to. This is why Cam Newton gets hurt. Just stop running with the ball and you'll be fine. Of course, you're going to do a few handoffs here and there, but not all the time. You got to turn that back, just like Lamar Jackson. Cam Newton is a veteran quarterback and he needs to stop that. Christian McCaffrey should have a great year this year. They also added Chris Hogan in the wide receiving core to go with DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. So he has weapons this year, Cam Newton. He just got to execute. They did lose Captain Munnerlyn and Thomas Davis on the defense side of the ball, but Luke Kuechly's still there, so the defense will be just fine. Because I am skeptical on Newton, I'm going to pick them to finish 7-9 this year. Let's move on to the New Orleans Saints, where Drew Brees will be back for another season of football. That man, I know we all get caught up on Tom Brady and how he's been playing for so long. Drew Brees is right up there. Maybe he's a couple of years younger, but he's just so damn good, and he's probably the most likable NFL player in the league. How can you not like this guy? This guy will bring this team, again, from that horrific loss from the NFC title game. I think they'll be just fine. The Saints, as long as Brees is playing, will be just fine. They added Jared Cook. They added Latavius Murray in place of Mark Ingram. They also added Malcolm Brown on the defense side of the ball. They did lose Max Unger, Drew Brees' center, which will be an issue, but I'm sure they'll find someone to plug and play. This team, what can you say about them? Alvin Kamara, Mike Thomas, who just got paid. They're going to be explosive across the field. So 11-5, very least they can get. So no worries there. Moving on to the last team, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In comes Bruce Arians, the quarterback whisperer. This is it for Jameis Winston. This is it, just like Marcus Mariota, AFC South. For the Titans, this is it for Jameis Winston as well. If Bruce Arians can't turn his career around, this guy is probably not going to last very long as a starting quarterback in this league. He can still remain in the league as a backup, but as a starter, no. He doesn't have Fitz to worry about this year. He's going to have Blaine Gabbert backing him up. Arians should be able to do good with this team. They added Brashad Perriman because they lost Adam Humphries, but they got Chris Godwin. They have Cameron Brate. They have a good offense, especially with Mike Evans. I know Deshaun is gone, but he was in the latter half of his career anyway. They did lose Gerald McCoy in the defensive side of the ball, but they added in Dominic Sue to replace him. They also added Deion Buchanan, linebacker from Cardinals, to replace Quan Alexander. They also drafted Devin White from LSU in the first round. So the Bucs have pieces in play, but Jameis Winston's got to deliver this year. This is it for him. There are no excuses. He needs to show up and make sure this team goes as far as he can possibly take them. Peyton Barber is going to be starting running back. Not sure how good he's going to be, but it is what it is. But because I don't trust Jameis Winston, I'm going to pick the Bucs to finish 6-10. So there you have it. There's the AFC and NFC South preview videos. Next week is the eagerly anticipating AFC and NFC's videos where I will make the prediction for my beloved New York Jets. I'll also be on the lookout for a NFL 2019 season preview with my buddies, just like how I did it last year. Hopefully I can bring that to you guys by Sunday night, if not Monday. But as always, like, subscribe, comment, share. Find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Talking Pigskin. So I'm always around. Let me know what you guys think of these previews. I'll see you guys next week.